10 things I need to happen before Stranger Things ends. What's going on, guys? It's Ty the TV Guy here, back with another Stranger Things 5 video where I'm going to be looking ahead to volumes 2 and 3, which encompasses the last 4 episodes of this season and of the entire show. And I'm going to be talking about some things that I need to see. In other terms, just some of my hopes and wishes for these final 4 episodes and how we close out this story with talking about some character moments, some villain stuff, and just some things that I think should or shouldn't happen, essentially, just in relation to my thoughts and feelings of some of the events surrounding the ending of this show. As always, before I get into my 10 needs, make sure to like this video, comment below the things that you really need or hope happen in the finale episodes of this series, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this and to become a part of the community. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. But all right, to start out with number 1, I need a Vecna versus 11 1v1 face-off. This is something that I feel like I was slightly robbed of in season 4 that I was looking forward to for so long. I thought 11 and Vecna were going to have this grand fight 1v1 where they were going to go blow for blow, and then eventually one would kind of overpower the other. I did assume that it would be Vecna, kind of like how it turned out in season 4. The only thing I was disappointed with was just like the length of the fight. I thought it was kind of a letdown. I mean, it was basically 11 pushes him into the bleachers, he throws these spikes at 11, she deflects them, and then a couple seconds later he overpowers her, throws her down, and then teleports her and Max to like the other part of the Upside Down. And so that was really all there was to the fight. It lasted like 1 to 2 minutes at most, and I'm hoping for like a longer sequence here where we get the 2 most powerful beings in the show. I know Will has tapped into some things now and maybe even showed a greater display of powers than 11, but I ultimately think that all along 11 has been framed as kind of like the chosen one in terms of being the strongest from the litter of kids at Hawkins' lab back in the day, even being powerful enough to open up that gate and send Vecna to another dimension. And so I think that these two have that shared history and trauma and connection that even though Will has powers now, and it's awesome, and I think he'll obviously contribute at the end of the show here, I still want to see 11 and Vecna get that moment where for some reason nobody else is really involved and it's them 1v1 trying to take each other out. My second need and request for the final 4 episodes of Stranger Things here is kind of relationship based, and I'm kind of combining 2 events into one here. One is Max and Lucas getting their movie date that was mentioned in season 4 before Max had her limbs broken and was kind of blinded, which I don't know how that would work if she'd actually be able to watch the movie, but I'm assuming that may get resolved or repaired somehow, I don't know, and she'll be able to at least go to the movies with Lucas nevertheless. And also Hopper and Joyce's date to Enzo's, which has actually been something we've been looking for a good while longer, since really the beginning parts of season 3, where Hopper got stood up by Joyce because she instead went to Mr. Clark's to unravel some mysteries about why the magnets were falling at work and home. And then later in season 3, Joyce is like, you can take me on a date. Let's do it. And of course Hopper gets lost, or they think he dies. He goes to Russia, and now he comes back. When they meet back up in Russia, they mention the date again. So they've really been dangling that down for us fans for so long. And so I think the payoff moment has to come between those two, provided that they both survive, which I think they will. And yeah, I forgot to mention that with Lucas and Max, but I'm of the belief that all 4 members of both of these couples will survive. So it's just a matter of the Duffer Brothers giving us these payoff moments, which in the epilogue at the end of the show as a feel-good moment for both couples, I don't see why they wouldn't. So I'm pretty confident that these moments can happen. The main factor that could limit one of them is that I don't know if Max is going to be able to see when she wakes up. The third thing that I need in the last 4 episodes is the Mind Flayer to return. Now, I'm not going to go too far into this because that's not the full topic of this video, but you know, I know that given the context of the first Shadow play, which a lot of people have seen, I have not, and I've also just kind of saved myself the possibility of seeing it in the future, so I haven't read like a full summary, but unfortunately I have gotten a lot of details spoiled, and one of them is that the Mind Flayer kind of flayed Henry Creel, who is now Vecna, at a young age. And so a very common theory, and some people think it's even more than a theory, that it's factual at this point, is that Vecna isn't going to be the biggest, baddest monster. That is still the Mind Flayer, and we're going to see that here unravel. I don't know how I feel about that specifically happening. I've been pretty thrilled with Vecna, how great of a villain he is, and him being the big bad of this show, so I don't really want like a redemption arc or to feel bad when he dies. That might sound bad, but like, he is a monster, and I don't know. I just don't really crave that redemption arc for the main villain of the show as he's become, but it might happen, and so that's how the Mind Flayer could get involved. But even if that doesn't happen, which I'd low-key prefer, I still want to see the Mind Flayer fighting with all the other upside-down creatures or somehow behind the scenes pulling some strings. I want that to be shown to us, since the Mind Flayer hasn't been seen in its original state since Season 2, and it kind of showed up as the fleshy version of itself from molted people in Season 3. We didn't see it at all in Season 4, haven't seen it yet in Season 5, so I just think it's such a central figure in the Stranger Things universe that it needs to make an appearance for these last couple episodes to be as epic and unforgettable as they could possibly be. At number 4, I have that I need great action with the 4 boys, the original party of the show, plus 11, of course. But I want the 4 boys to have an amazing moment together, preferably where they're fighting or really working on a mystery together in Volume 2 or 3 here. We haven't really gotten this as much as people would think throughout the duration of the show, or dare I say, much at all. The main times we've actually gotten all 4 boys together on screen doing the same thing is in Season 1 at the very beginning of the season, at Season 2, the very beginning of the season, and admittedly that's probably the longest stretch they have, those first 3 or 4 episodes before Will starts getting more possessed, and then he kind of is out of the picture, and Mike and him split up, and then Lucas and Dustin find themselves with Steve and Max. But so we do get a bit of them together in Season 2. Season 3, the first episode, that's basically it. Then Dustin's off in the Russian lair and at Hawkins, the Starcourt Mall, rather. Season 4, we don't get it at all, really. So, low-key, when you think about it, the OG 4 boys haven't been together in this show as much as you'd think. In Volume 1, we got all 4 of them together at a couple points briefly, mainly in Episode 1 when they were kind of making the plan for the crawl, but I want them to actually do something significant together. They're all such great thinkers and theorizers that I think having them all together, some of them have more strength in combat and leadership, some have more strength in coming up with the plan, or a combination of all of it, and now Will has powers. I think the 4 of them should go on like their own mission or their own discovery. Obviously not forever. I mean, even if it only takes up 20 minutes of an episode, I think that would be great. And, if 11 tags along with them, that would be passable as well for this need of mine. But I just want to see that. Let me know what you guys think about that, because I just feel like, so much is said about the 4 boys, and obviously they are such centerpieces of this show, and we think about how great their relationships are, and they do get to shine a lot of times in pairs or in trios, but it's very rare that we actually get all 4 of them together outside of like the first episode of each season, and we don't even get that in Season 4. So that's something I'm really looking for. At number 5, I have that we need a discussion about Will's feelings for Mike. In other terms, we kind of need Will to come out to Mike, or at least have a clear-cut decision on Mike in terms of how he feels about him in return. I think it would be most satisfying if Will poured out all his feelings to Mike, and then Mike supported him one way or the other. Obviously, Will likes Mike at this point in the show, and there's the big divisive debate between the fan base with Malevin or Byler, and I'm not really going to comment on that any further. We're close enough at this point. We'll see how it plays out. But regardless of whether Mike and Will end up together, I think even if that doesn't happen, we still need a little bit of resolution, because the one thing you can't deny is that they have made it abundantly clear that Will likes Mike, and at certain points, especially here in Season 5, a couple times has tried to test the waters with that. And so there needs to be like a climactic point in that dynamic. It can't just like have all these like little moments between them and Will's kind of poking around at how to approach the subject, and then he never does before the show ends. That wouldn't be very satisfying. So we got to see something happen there. I've already spoken in other videos about kind of what I think is going to happen, but regardless, there at least needs to be a conversation about it and a great moment as friends. If it turns out to be anything other than that, then fine, but that's kind of what we need, in my opinion. All right, my number 6 here is a little more complicated, so bear with me. But something that I need, or kind of that I don't need, I guess it could be rephrased for this one specifically, is that I really don't want 8 to be used as like one of the main final deaths of the show. And I also don't want her to unrealistically save 11. Because I don't want one of the highest leverage, most important moments in the show to be devoted to a character in 8 that I have nothing against necessarily, but has hardly been in the entire show. I don't want her to have like one of the biggest high leverage moments where she's like a key factor in saving the group or saving 11 specifically, or where her death holds like so much weight and the Duffers are like, oh, this was one of the main final deaths. See, we're killing someone off. It's like, okay, she doesn't count. I'm sorry. Like, I will be maybe sad if she dies, if it's a sad scene, I guess. But I'm saying, and I'll get more to this in one of my later requests, but this would not qualify to me as like a main character death. We need a bit more than that as the fans to pay off for all the high stakes and craziness that we've been following this season and for all the seasons prior. And with all the great relationships 11 has with characters like Hopper, Mike, Max, and others, just imagine if Elle was saved by 8. Now, I'm not talking about they're both fighting the monsters and Kali/8 pulls off a move to help 11 within the battle. I'm talking like Vecna standing over 11, about to drive a stake through her heart, and Kali just like summons these powers from within and like saves her in this grandioso scene. I would absolutely hate that. It would feel unearned for the character and not fitting for where they've taken the storyline all this time. They want to bring her back, sure. They want her to help in these causes, sure. But she cannot be like the main driving force between saving the crew in general or 11 specifically. That would rub me the wrong way. At number 7, I have a similar request as I did earlier, but it's instead of just the 4 boys, I want there to be a big group scene of all the main characters banding together, a la something we saw in season 2 at the Byers' house, where almost every main character was there in their living room as the Demodogs approached and were planning their attack, since Will had kind of spied on their location, of course. Now, 11 wasn't there until the very end, and she comes and saves the day, and then they do all split up right afterward. But nevertheless, we get a decent chunk of time with them all at the Byers' house there, and we have gotten some pretty good group moments this season already with the Turnbow trap, everybody together in the basement of the WSQK, and at the Turnbow house, actually, setting up the trap. But I want there to be like a battle scene where everybody maybe is in like downtown's Hawken instead of just a few of the characters, or at another main location, or everybody's even in the Upside Down maybe. I think that would be really cool. And don't get me wrong, I love kind of the Stranger Things way of kind of splitting up all the characters and from different locations due to just different tasks that need completed, or the element of the hive mind, you know, that you can herd it from different places, that they can split up and achieve different things simultaneously. However, I still want kind of that group dynamic to happen 1 or 2 more times, being that we definitely have gotten more of the helping each other from separate places type of thing. How about let's band all together, be on screen all at once, and fight these monsters full force? I think that would be awesome. At number 8, I have that we need more information about the Upside Down. I simply put it like that in my notes, but trust me, there's nothing simple about this. There, to me, is still a lot that could be explained and to be desired by the fans here in terms of what actually is the Upside Down, how, why, and when did it originate? Why is it stuck on the day that Will went missing? Is that just a result of, you know, there was kind of like a carbon copy of Hawkins created when Will went missing on that day, and that's why it hasn't aged past November 6, 1983, as Nancy sees in her notebook in season 4? You know, why is time frozen? How is the potential wormhole and the book that Holly's reading, I forget the name of it, how is that stuff maybe going to tie into this? And are we going to get some elements of time travel related to the Upside Down? Once again, just what is the origin story? Did Vecna create it? Did 11 create it? Was it when she sent him there? Did it always exist? What's its relationship with Dimension X? To me, there's just a lot to be desired. Maybe some of it is already like partially answered, but I think getting a clearer picture would be nice. Now, I think some fans have like unrealistic expectations surrounding this, and that we're going to get like every single detail explained to us about like everything that's happened over all the seasons. Like, I don't know, if you're wondering like why specifically 11 disappeared after, fizzling the Demogorgon in season 1, I don't think you're going to get that answer at this point. I think there's, you can infer things based on what we know, and everybody has their theory about it maybe, and maybe there's even kind of a consensus, but some people I see still asking like, oh, we got to figure out how that happened, or we got to figure out how the Demogorgons went into the tree when that wasn't really a gate in season 1. It's like, okay, I don't think we're going to get like small details like that answered. I'm just talking broadly, other than just knowing it's this creepy alternate dimension, somehow the hive mind works, and some of the backstory of Vecna's, come up within it, we still don't know a whole lot about the Upside Down, if you think about it. At least to me. Maybe there's some people out here who and I think about the show all the time, but I don't do like deep research into like Upside Down lore and history. Maybe if I did, I'd have a little bit more answers. But to me, from what at least just the show has provided, we haven't gotten clear answers on what it is. So that's what I'm hoping for. And it's encouraging because the Duffer Brothers have promised that we would get those answers. It's just kind of crazy to me because there's so many questions piling up. I mean, we came into season 5 like, okay, we need this answered. And they just tripled that list with some of the events of volume 1. Why is Vecna taking all these kids now? And what is his whole plan here? There's so many new twists and turns that all have to be resolved in 4 episodes. But the Upside Down is one of the crucial things that we need more clarification on. And then we get to the final 2 needs or requests that I have here to end the show, and they're both quite simple. Number 9 is that we need 1 main character death. Yes, I said it. Not because, obviously, in a real-world scenario, I would never root for someone to die, and as I'm watching, the final episode here probably, I'm not necessarily going to be rooting for a specific character to die, but I will say, as a fan, I want this to wrap up in a sensical way that is satisfying. And to me, it wouldn't be all that satisfying. It wouldn't make all that sense. It wouldn't be like a good roundup of the story if 0 main characters die. I mean, we go through all these seasons, and to me, that would just prove the critics right that say they're afraid to kill off characters. I understand maybe saving everybody until this point. You've killed off some kind of main characters, but usually short term, like Billy, Barb, Eddie, Bob Newby, Alexi. Kind of kill off Max and Hopper, but now they're both back and still in the show, so that doesn't really count. You got to have one that's permanent, that's no coming back from. And I think it will happen, but I don't know. I still fear a little bit. Like, what if they just kill off, like, Derek Turnbow or something? Or what if there's just not much bloodshed at all? To me, that would be hard to believe, and given how the cast has explained the finale and how they all bawled when they read the script, to me, that indicates that one of the very main characters has to die. And I'm not talking Murray. I'm not talking Erica. Those characters are great, and I love them, but, they're not part of, like, the main. I'm talking a main character has to die. One of the 4 boys, 11 or Max, Hopper or Joyce, or one of the 4 main older kids, young adults now, Robin, Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve. One of those 12 has to die. There's just no way they go through the whole show and don't die. Obviously, this whole thing is unrealistic to an extent because it takes place partially in an alternate dimension that's called the Upside Down, and these monsters aren't real in real life. I know that. But within the parameters of a sci-fi show, as it's been presented to us, that stuff can be explained. It would be, to me, unexplainable and unfathomable that one of our main characters doesn't bite the dust in the biggest battle ever here. And so that's why I want it to happen. Not because I want to see my beloved characters die, but obviously, like, I want to feel all the emotions as the show ends here, and there's nothing further to save them for. Aside from something that may pop up 15 years from now as kind of like a money-chasing opportunity, there aren't planned to be any sequels with the same characters and actors. So do what you got to do. I'm not saying I want half the main cast to die, and that's unrealistic to me anyway. I'm just saying we need 1 main character to die. We need 1 big blow. We need 1 huge emotional moment to remember this show and its ending and really feel an impact by that death. That's what I think. And I think most people share that sentiment, and that it would just be a little too ridiculous and absurd at this point for no one to die. And at number 10, to round this out, I just have one more very general wish, and it's to have 1 final mind-blowing reveal, similar to something like we saw with the Vecna Henry 1 reveal in Season 4, Episode 7, The Massacre at Hawkins' Lab, but probably even to a greater level that's even less predictable than that. I want something that's going to completely blow my mind. The exploding head emoji. I want that to be me in real life, in real time, watching the final episode or 2. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. I can't really break this down much more because I don't want to know what it is. I want it to be completely out of left field, but still make sense and intertwine with something we really care about with the plot of this show. I think they're going to do it, and I'm super excited to see what it is. But I am going to be a little disappointed if we just go these last 4 episodes and it's just kind of like, business as usual, prepping up for war, fighting the military a little bit, getting to fight Vecna. They all use their powers, and then that's how it ends. Like, there has to be one big twist, okay? And so that's what I'm looking for. But there you have it, guys. Those are 10 of my hopes, wishes, and dreams for the last 4 episodes of my favorite show ever, Stranger Things. Let me know what you guys thought of those, what you'd maybe add to this list, or if you disagree with any of these, if you don't want to, things to go the way I'm envisioning them. I just think a lot of these are actually kind of realistic to happen. I mean, I don't think any of these are like really far out there where it's like, what? There's no way there's a great scene with the 4 boys in the final 4 episodes. What? Or like, what? There's no way Vecna and 11 have a 1v1 fight. Or what? There's no way 8 isn't a huge death in these final 4 episodes. Like, I think most of the stuff could definitely happen. It's just a matter of whether it does, and I'm hoping so. That's all I have for this video, guys. Like this video, comment below, and subscribe to the channel for more Stranger Things content as we finish out these last couple volumes. And it's going to be sad here soon, but it's going to be worth it, I think. Appreciate you. Catch you in the next video. Peace out.